a copy of the Open Meetings Act, which is posted on the west wall of the meeting room and accessible to members of the public. Will you please stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance with me?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first up tonight, in observance of Veterans Day, I would like to recognize Board Member Eric Book. He would like to give a special kind of announcement here or speech tonight. Eric did serve at the United States Marines Corps for 8 years, ended as a sergeant. So Eric, go ahead and give your announcement.
Thank you. First off, it was an honor to serve my country and an honor to serve Beatrice. It is an honor and a privilege to honor our veterans today, and on behalf of the Board of Education, we'd like to say thank you for your service to all the veterans out there. I know what you go through. President Ronald Reagan once said, "Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction." We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on for them to do the same. Today, we remember our veterans who fought with blood, sweat, and tears to secure the freedom we enjoy today. But we must never forget and remember every day the ultimate sacrifices that those that never got to come home gave. All gave some, but some gave all. Of course, today is Veterans Day. Yesterday was the 249th birthday of my beloved Marine Corps. So for me and other Marines, it's a very special time of the year. But for me and my family, it is a time where we especially remember our cousin, Corporal Matt Henderson, United States Marine Corps. President John F. Kennedy once said, "As we express our gratitude, we must never forget the highest appreciation is not to utter words, but to live by them." Those words ring true today for me and should for all of those who truly are thankful for those that never got to come home. I often think about what Matt would be doing today. He would be enjoying life, raising kids, watching them grow, teaching them life lessons that he learned, teaching them how to hunt, fish, playing football, running routes in the backyard, how to be honest, giving, unselfish. He would be serving his community. He'd be teaching kids and others of how important it is to remember those that never got to come home. He would be maybe serving on a school board. Like a lot of veterans today, myself included, we show our appreciation by living for those that never got to come home. And for me, my only hope is that I could be half the man that he was. It is an honor for me to share this tribute tonight to Corporal Matt Henderson. As we express our gratitude, we must never forget the highest appreciation is not to utter words, but to live by them. Today I will recall the life and service of Corporal Matt Henderson of Lincoln, Nebraska. Matt was born May 15, 1979 in Columbia, Missouri, to Owen and Rebecca Henderson. At the time Matt came into the world, his dad Owen was attending veterinary school. After Owen finished the school, the Henderson family moved to the good life to raise both Matt and his sister Kelly. As Matt grew, he made friends, loved to play outside, and enjoyed hunting and fishing. Many times Matt could be found by his dad's side at many of his visits, treating animals. His favorite furry companion was his curly-haired golden retriever Rocky, with whom he spent a lot of time with and taught how to play fetch. He said he was the greatest center fielder. Matt loved sports and participating in many growing up, including baseball, basketball, wrestling, track, and football. But his favorite all was football. He was a devout Nebraska Husker and Chicago Bears fan. Matt and his wife Jamie began dating while they attended Palmyra Senior High School in Odo County. Jamie remembers Matt wearing his football jersey on game days and their dates at the movies, the mall, and homecoming dances even before they were old enough to drive. After graduating high school in 1998, Matt attended Nebraska Wesleyan, where he studied athletic training and criminal justice. He also played on the football team and was an avid weightlifter. In 2000, Matt joined the Marine Corps because he was attracted to the discipline and the direction it offered. He completed boot camp at Marine Corps Recruit Depot in San Diego before attending and completing infantry training at Camp Pendleton. Due to his strong interest in the construction field, Matt also finished combat engineer school in Camp Lejeune. After engineer school, he was assigned to the 1st Combat Engineer Battalion at Camp Pendleton. On August 4th, 2001, Matt proposed to Jamie on Mission Beach in San Diego just after the sunset. They were so excited about finally getting married and began planning their wedding in Nebraska, which was scheduled for April 12, 2003. In January 2003, however, Matt's unit was informed they would be among the first forces to invade Iraq. Jamie postponed the wedding, which was supposed to take place just a few months, and instead, she and Matt were married in a civil ceremony in San Diego. The two of them couldn't imagine something happening during Matt's deployment and never being able to marry one another. In February 2003, Matt deployed to Iraq. He joined other U.S.-led forces in the invasion of Iraq from Kuwait in order to oust Saddam Hussein. During his deployment, Matt was chosen to be a squad leader due to his leadership abilities, technical skills, and the respect of other Marines. Matt's family had no communication with him during this time and were glued to the TV, watching the news every evening with the hopes of catching a glimpse of Matt. Upon Matt's return home in May of 2003, he and Jamie finally had their big church wedding in Lincoln, where they renewed their vows in front of family and friends. Following the wedding, Jamie moved to California to live at Camp Pendleton with Matt. Without the distance, she and Matt had more time to spend together, enjoyed socializing with other friends and Marines. In February of 2004, Matt deployed to Iraq for the second time, and Jamie moved back to Nebraska to be closer to family. As a squad leader, Matt was very aware of and concerned about the dangers of this second deployment, but he couldn't leave his men behind and chose to go. On May 26, 2004, Matt was leading his squad of several other Marines in sweeping an area in Al-Anbar province in Iraq for IEDs and repairing major roads. This particular area had seen dramatic increase in violence and demonstrations at the time, and the province was in full-scale revolt. During the sweep, Matt and two of his men, including Shelton, Nebraska native Kyle Codner, were killed when an IED detonated. Matt warned his squad to get back and take cover, but was unable to get out of the range himself. The remainder of his squad survived, with one person suffering shrapnel wounds. Corporal Matt Henderson's memorial service was held at First Plymouth Church in Lincoln, June 3, 2004. Hundreds of family, friends, and fellow soldiers attended the ceremony to honor Matt and pay their respects. In what seemed an impossible task, Matt's dad, Owen, gave the eulogy that day. Matt was laid to rest at the Lincoln Memorial Park Cemetery. For his ultimate sacrifice, Matt Henderson received Naval Achievement Medal with Cluster, a Purple Heart, and numerous unit citations and campaign ribbons, and he was the first to receive the Non-Commissioned Officer Combat Engineer of the Year. Matt was a constant source of inspiration for his fellow Marines. He was the kind of young man that people were just drawn to. He was a tough, yet selfless Marine. Corporal Matt Henderson lived life to its fullest, and he is missed dearly by his family and friends. And I join, I believe, the Board of Education, Beatrice, Nebraskans, and Americans across our country tonight in saluting Matt's bravery and sacrifice. John 15:13 says, "No greater love than this, than a man who lays his life down for his friends." And tonight I honor our veterans and all those that didn't get to come home. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric, and that was a very nice tribute to your cousin Matt. I appreciate your service, and everybody else, all the veterans out there listening, and your service to our country. All right, now we will move on to our regular board meeting. We'll start with the consent agenda. Do I have a motion, please?
I move that the Board of Education of District 15 approve the consent agenda as presented. Approval of the agenda as submitted. Approval of minutes of the regular Board of Education meeting on October 14, 2024. Approval of the proposed accounts for payment. Approval of budgetary receipts and expenditures for October 2024. Approval of Committee of the Whole minutes, October 29, 2024. Approval of option students. Approval of Regulation 5205, graduation requirements, second reading, and excuse the absence of Doris Martin and Lisa Pieper.
Okay, thank you. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Jason, do you have a treasury report?
I do. So treasurer's report for the month of October, expenses, bills were $699,188.96. Payroll was $1,834,186.99, bringing the grand total expenditures to $2,533,375.85. General fund revenue for the month was $1,006,830.97. Currently, we are at about 16% spent in the budget cycle, which is right where we should be.
Okay, thank you. Are there any items that the board would like to remove from the consent agenda for further discussion? All right, seeing none, can I have your votes, please? And motion passes. All right, next up, outstanding recognition. First up, Class B state softball champions, Mr. Brown.
This is a 2000. Thank you, girls. 2024 Class B state softball champions. Amazing group of kids. Kids that were selfless, that just worked hard and went to the field every day with an agenda. After talking with them last year, they had this on their minds. And one thing that was really kind of neat about them, after they got done with the winter state title, we were on the baseball field, and was down there and congratulating them, and we get that next year too. So they're a unique group of girls, a lot of fun, a lot of laughs with them this year. They represented Beatrice really well, very classful. They won with a lot of pride, as you saw after the game, where they consulting the Hastings pitcher who a lot of them play with, said a lot about our kids. So, Coach.
I won't say a whole lot because if you think you get emotional. I'd just like to say thank you to the school board, our community. These ladies had a lot of support. As we went through the state tournament and everything, it was a great time, a lot of fun, and you saw a lot of perseverance, a lot of good qualities from these kids. And like I said, they're an amazing group. They're in 7 years, this is one of the best groups that I've had opportunity to coach. Just in their willingness to go out and work, never question what it is. We know what our goals are. Here's the tasks to get the goals done, and they just put their heads down and work. So just want to thank you guys for the support and thank our community, and just love these girls. Great job.
Girls, you just maybe introduce yourself real quick. So.
I'm Sadie Harrod.
I'm Alex Mason.
I'm Brooklyn Carlson.
I'm McKenna Bergmeyer.
I'm Lauren Rowers.
I'm Jordan Cross. I'm Kathleen Hendricks.
Challenge Weasel.
Haley Loomis. Jeremy Hendricks.
Hannah Anthem. Jada Murphy.
Amy Forkey.
Tatum Peppermore.
Mark Gleason.
We're missing a few, but yeah, these are the state champs.
Congratulations, lady, you represented Beatrice well.
They did beat.
You're fun to watch.
They did beat the runner-up in Class A too, so
Yeah.
it's a big win.
It was a true pleasure to watch you throughout the course of the year exhibit the epitome of teamwork. You were at all opportunities a team united, and that in the end proved to be the difference. One run at one very important moment made all the difference in the world, and when you're united as a team, you can accomplish anything, and you proved that. So thank you very much for your diligence, perseverance, and hard work throughout the year. It was a true joy watching each and every one of you compete. Great job.
Go ahead and take. You can leave shortly after this.
All right, again, congratulations. Next up, Employee of the Month. Dr. Nielsen.
I am going to help Mr. Brown do this and recognize a great person on our staff that just does an amazing job of keeping us moving forward. So, and the thing is that we maybe had a little snafu in communication, however, we got her here. So, Mrs. Romango, would you come on down? Come on down. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. So, Cindy is a vital part of our school and the backbone of our activities department. Her daily interaction with kids is second to none. Kids not only come down to her for athletic questions, but also just stop to see her. She has built amazing relationships with our students. Not sure how many times a day we hear, we need to go talk to Cindy. Which is probably quite often. I know that Maddie probably said that too. Cindy's role in the activity department is probably the most important. She does so much of the behind-the-scenes work to make these events a success, from creating programs, aligning help and ticket takers, transportation, hotel rooms, orange and black, awards, and so many more duties, probably whatever Gus says. Maybe. Cindy often does this with her family here with her because of the time commitment in this department. She's gotten to know the ins and outs of the department so well that Mr. Brown will forget something or go to do something and you've already taken care of it. Mr. Brown will ask her and she will say, you were busy, so I just took care of it. She's a true team player and a blessing to have work in this department. The coaches of BPS rely on her so much for ordering and helping with their administrative needs throughout the year. Mr. Brown does not know how many times they will ask him for something, and he will say, I need to ask Cindy, give me a minute. He usually refers to her as his boss, and I think that's probably the truth. Her work doesn't stop there either. She also is one of the concession stand managers. She does this and all of the money goes back to our students. She always has them up and running and ready for games. She also serves different roles throughout different youth programs. Cindy brings so many things to our building. She always volunteers to help whenever needed. Mr. Brown knows that at any time he can call, like tonight, and she will come. So thank you. The relationship she has built and how all of us depend on her says a lot about the person she is. She always puts our kids first. She truly is an asset to our district. So congratulations, you are the November Employee of the Month. Thank you. Yes, thank you. So,
Cindy, I've got
Mr. Trustee, yes, we go. You're welcome.
All right, congratulations, Cindy. Next up, Business Friend of the Month, Mr. Alexander. Or Dr. Nielsen. Yep, go ahead.
Sorry, you're all good. Okay, so as they are exiting, we have a great group that we would like to recognize tonight. And as you know, in the city of Beatrice, we have a ton of wonderful service organizations that do amazing things for our students, amazing things for our community. So tonight, we would like to recognize one of the great service organizations in the Beatrice community. And we have some members from the Kiwanis Early Risers here among us. If you guys would like to come on up, that would be great. The Kiwanis Early Risers search for ways to help our students at all levels of learning. They are always asking about different ways to give back and improve the lives of the children in Beatrice. And we know that they are a group of 20, but they do amazing things for the kids in Beatrice, and we are thankful for their contributions. So what do? They bring in checks frequently using their bucket money collected each meeting to help families pay off their lunch balances. They serve pancakes twice a year to support the FFA program and other programs. They also help out with the Breakfast with Santa Claus, with the preschool. These pancake feeds are ways to fundraise for the many programs in Beatrice Public Schools. And recently, a check for $1,428.48 will be handed over to the FFA with their most recent fundraiser. Which, that is huge for the FFA program, who has started going to nationals, has started going to all their competitions and doing all of their activities that they need to do. The Early Risers also support many other funds, such as the Backpack Program, the Fine Arts Program, the Leadership Paper Airplane Contest, the Mini Mart, and other activities. Additionally, they provide water for the middle school Washington, D.C. trips. Currently, they are also starting to brainstorm to figure out how they can be a strong support for our career technical education students. They are working with the high school, and I know we need to get this meeting set up, but working with the high school to try to figure out how do we help ensure CTE students have amazing opportunities, whether it's at SEC, whether it is at another technical school. So we are searching for different ideas. As you can see, the Kiwanis Early Risers are an organization that continues to search for ways to give back to our students and family. We are grateful for their continued support, grateful for all their contributions, and thank them for everything that they do for us. So thank you. And the other thing is, how many educators do you have, or retired educators do you have in your group?
I don't know, do you count a librarian as an educator?
Absolutely. Yes.
Geez, I can't think of them all.
Uh-huh.
4 or 5 at least.
4 or 5, yeah. So about a quarter of your group are retired or current educators.
Or spouses too.
Yes,
Yeah.
I love it. That is wonderful. Okay, picture time, I think. And then Mr. Trusty has something for you. Glad it's not just me.
Somebody?
So whoever would like to.
Being the only woman.
There you go.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
New chair.
I love it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you guys and ladies. On behalf of the Board of Education, we appreciate all that you've done for our students. All right, next up, information portion. We will start with the student update. Annie.
The elementary and preschool. October was a busy month at the elementary school. They've had so much fun seeing the building start to become a school. Walls are being filled with children's work, routine and procedures are being ironed out, and most importantly, all the roads are finally open. The building celebrated the girls' softball championship with a championship walk through the hallway. It was very fun to play music on the speakers and see the girls give high fives through the hallways. The walk ended with a dodgeball game between the softball team and the 2 5th grade classes. The preschool had fun marching around the hallways for their Halloween parade. Last week, the staff had a little fun and held an underground staff dress-up week. Staff dressed like ninjas, workout clothes, patterns, their favorite holiday, and flannels. It's been fun to see the 5th graders participating in their band lessons, and the best is seeing the collaboration between grades and activities happening across grade levels. The middle school. The Beatrice Middle School girls wrestling attended the school's first ever meet as a girls-only sport last week. At the meet, they were 31-6 in their matches. Boys basketball has also tipped off, and they have a record of 55 athletes participating this year. BMS hosted their annual Veterans Day Assembly with the guest speaker of Ing Marstead delivering this year's presentation. One of the school counselors, Mrs. Rice, was nominated as one of the top 12 counselors in the state of Nebraska at this year's school counselor conference. And lastly, the high school. The high school softball team won Class B after defeating Hastings 1-0 in extra innings, and the high school could not be more proud. The boys cross country team qualified for state and placed 4th as a team. Individuals, Josiah Quinones and Lucas Frazier both placed. Josiah got 8th and Lucas got 11th. Today was the annual Veterans Day program that was hosted in the Hevlon Center. It was a huge success thanks to the student council and the music department. Winter sports will officially kick off next week starting on Monday. The high school also held another Freedom Friday this past week. Lastly, the one-act play of Rue is done with their performances at the high school, but they are now onto their competition season.
All right, thanks, Amy. Next up, board reports, and we will start with the Committee of the Whole, and in Doris's absence, I will read her report. So the Committee of the Whole was held on Tuesday, October 29th, 2024. A discussion on the critical response mapping proposal was held. Bruce Lang, Chief Jay Murphy, and Sheriff Gustafson shared some basic information on how their agencies use mapping locally. The system they use is GeoCom. Board discussion ensued that included questions about where and how the data is stored and who all has access to it, as student safety is a priority to the Board of Education. Elementary principals Mrs. Timmerman and Mr. Ford highlighted the following components of the site plan that they have been focused on for the start of the 24-25 school year. School improvement goal of strengthening Tier 1 practices for all students focused on academic, behavior, and social emotional. Academic use of Amplify and progress monitoring, increase instructional practices. Behavior, using common language, tracking data in EduClimber. Social emotional, DESA screener, celebrating success using the slide as a tool. High school principal Mr. Voigt highlighted the following components of the site plan that they have been focused on for the start of the 24-25 school year. Goal number 1, reduce percentage of behavioral referrals per cohort student over 3 years. Goal number 2, increase graduation rate year by year over the next 3 years, strategy 4. That ends the report. All right, next up, stance report. Jason.
So the stance organization had our first meeting November 7th of the new year, this past Thursday. We welcomed 3 new superintendents to the fold, and topics of discussion revolved mainly around the election results, both nationally and statewide, and the anticipated impacts of those results. School land and history along LB 711 was discussed, and school land was originally set aside for educational purposes, so we're interested to see what the legislature discussions will be in the coming session. We also discussed the current interim hearings being held and noted the ones of high interest for us in education. The next meeting for stance is scheduled for December 4th.
Okay, thank you. Next up, negotiations. Jana.
The negotiations committee met with BEA one time on October 29th, and we are meeting again on Thursday, November 14th.
All right, perfect. All right, next up is the time for public forum or comments. I did not receive any requests to speak tonight, so we will move on to the discussion portion. And the first and only agenda item on discussion is the superintendent evaluation, which I will give a short summary of the survey that was done on Jason by the Board of Education. Superintendent Alexander and the board both identified budget planning and management as an area of strength, and board superintendent relations rating consistently high as well. The board overwhelmingly agreed that Superintendent Alexander does an excellent job of leading the board through the budget process and keeping the board informed on all matters, and he respects the difference and appreciates the differences of the board members. Educational leadership as an area of growth was identified both the board and superintendent. Specific areas of growth focus on emphasizing the need to improve student performance and the continued use of data and goals to meet benchmarks. The standards of professional leadership and organizational and cultural leadership were also identified as potential areas of improvement by the board and Superintendent Alexander, respectively. Top 3 priority areas of growth to be addressed through goals that we will work with Jason on in the very near future will fall under the areas of educational leadership, organizational and cultural leadership, and professional leadership. So this was again a evaluation done by the entire board. I think it was the first part of October. So that's kind of the highlights of the evaluation at this point. And if there's any other comments that the board would like to make on behalf of the evaluation, now's the time to do so. Otherwise, that's all I have. Okay. Thank you. Moving on to the action portion. First up, approve cooler repair at Beatrice High School. Do I have a motion, please?
I move that the Board of Education of District 15 approve the quote from Tech Masters for $13,612.93 for the repair of the cooler at Beatrice High School.
Thank you. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Eric. Dr. Nelson, can you enlighten us, please?
Yes, the cooler at the high school is leaking Freon and has bad unit. So in order to ensure food safety, in order to ensure that the freezer is at the temperature it needs to be at, we need to fix the unit. The funds from the school lunch program will cover the cost.
Okay.
Any questions?
Questions, comments? All right, seeing none, can I have your votes, please? And motion passes. All right, next up, approval of policy 3241, emergency response mapping. Do I have a motion, please?
I move that the Board of Education of District 15 approve policy 3241, emergency response mapping.
Okay, thank you. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Charles. Okay, Mr. Alexander.
Essentially, we've worked our way through this particular conversation, coming to a point tonight where we decide to either vote on the adoption of the policy, and if the vote passes, we adopt the policy and then move forward with applying for the grant and continue working with GeoCom as the provider of the maps. If the policy fails, there's no need to apply for the grant, so that's where we are.
Okay. Any further discussion by the board? Comments?
Did we get a quote yet from GeoCom on what it would take for this grant?
Not yet. We were in communication last week and he said he was gonna try and have one to me, but I haven't seen it. I wonder if that wasn't because of Veterans Day today, but I have not seen a quote yet.
Were there any more details about how this information would be kept with GeoCom? Because my worry is that we're just going from one company to another company with the same thing happening, where the digital blueprinting will happen and then it will be kept on a file for updates, and it's the same thing we were talking about with the critical response company.
Pretty much everything would be the same as what you heard from the group here that night, is that their understanding is everything will be, with GeoCom, will be local unless they give it out.
I'd say I'm more comfortable, I'm glad we waited to hear from the local people, and with their endorsement and popularity of this working, I'm satisfied. I'm
You know,
glad we waited.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I am glad we waited.
And I would agree, because it gave us the opportunity to do a little bit more research, and that we have actually some software that will work with something that's local. And I am in support of it. I know that we can't prevent everything that's going to happen, but we do need to be able to respond. And you know, looking at it maybe from a little bit different perspective, if there is an incident, I prefer to give our local responders as much information and help that they can get. And you know, even when Chief Lang made the comment when I asked, is this something that would be helpful, he said yes, and particularly in natural disasters. So I guess, like I said, I am in support of it from the safety standpoint and the response time.
I would agree with Jan. I'm in support of it as well. You know, given the current environment and everything that has happened within schools, and whether it's natural disaster or, you know, just a public safety incident, I think it's important that our local law enforcement, first responders have access to this information. All right, any other questions?
I'd just like to say I'm just still concerned about how this information is going to be stored, because we still don't know. They can say they're in support of GeoCom, but they weren't certain how this information was going to be stored. But did anyone catch that? Because I'm pretty sure they did not say how it was going to be stored. From my understanding, it's still stored for updates on the software program. Is that correct?
As best I understand,
And so then this company would probably be serving multiple schools in the area across America, and that's my concern right there, that this information will be stored in a place that could be hacked by people wishing us ill will. And I mean, I'm all for giving the responders the tools they need to be more effective in getting to the situation, but I mean, how have we made it this far without this program? It doesn't seem like it is a dire need for our community to have this. And we need to remember as a board too, this is just optional. The unicameral didn't make this mandatory that we have to adopt this, and I think there's a reason behind that. So risk versus reward, is this gonna keep our kids safer? I'm just thinking of what's going on in the world today and all the threats to our country and how this could absolutely be used if, you know, a foreign entity or an enemy here on our own soil would hack this Geocom or any company that has hundreds or thousands of schools or businesses on file and then use this against us. To say that'll never happen here, I think is a very foolish mindset. We haven't learned anything from 9/11 or what happened October 7th in Israel last year when it was a planned attack where they had all this information. And like I said at the committee of the whole meeting, last February and this last October, they had House committees and FBI warnings where they said there's more red flags today than ever in our country. And the intel that came out of these meetings were, as a matter of fact, their goal is to attack schools and churches. And the intel came out that they cited 29 different states in America where they are known terror cells. Now, these are the things that go through my mind when I think about, maybe it's just a hole I'm going down, but you know, I mean, I love my kids and our kids, and we're here to keep them safe. And I'm just wondering, is this a necessary thing that we need? I mean, how have we responded before? People bringing up a digital blueprint on a tablet or whatever, and knowing where this room or whatever it is. No, they're going to be running to that room because they practice it on fire drills or active shooter drills. They know the schools like the back of their hand. So that's all I got on that, and appreciate your time.
I am a bit uncertain as to the terms of the contract and what negotiation power we have of getting everything settled. It would be nice to know more how this is actually playing out. I will say that.
So Jason, just if we approve this policy, we can still negotiate and understand. We would still have to bring to the board an official contract, correct?
Correct. Yep.
So this, you know, with the policy, it doesn't mean that we're, you know, approving the contract necessarily. It's just setting forth a policy that we would do this mapping.
Correct.
Correct. Got it.
And Jason, one more thing. Back when you first announced this in the superintendent's report in September, you stated here that the grant application had to be applied by, it was due by November 1st. Was that a different grant or?
No, they moved the time frame back.
Okay.
I think because everything was happening so quick across the state and the announcement for the funding was later than what they anticipated, that they moved the time frame back.
Are you aware of any other schools or that are adopting this policy in the area? Or?
Yeah, and Bruce Lang identified several that, to me, I'm not going to mention those publicly,
Right.
but
Okay.
there are several that are, yes. That's why I asked him that question that night, is he working with other schools that are adopting as well?
I do like to keep the option open, that we don't preclude being able to take advantage of the grant. And since this is not, we're not approving the final contract, that lends comfort that we can at least do this stage.
Yep.
Okay, any other comments? All right, seeing none, can I have your votes, please? And motion passes 4-1. All right, next up, approve the sale of the metal building and portables at Paddock Lane through an online auction service. Do I have a motion, please?
I move that the Board of Education of District 15 approve the sale of the metal building and portables at Paddock through an online auction service.
Okay, thank you. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Eric. Mr. Alexander.
So as you recall, the board authorized us to auction various desks, chairs, miscellaneous furniture and equipment to sell from the old buildings. But we never talked about, and to be honest, it never really came up about selling any of the buildings themselves because we believed that those would go to the city. In communication with the city, we've been asked by, we received or fielded numerous phone calls about the metal building at Paddock Lane and the portables and whether or not we would be selling those. And so I did reach out to Tobias and did ask him if they wanted those buildings, if their plan was just to demolish them, and if so, would they be all right with us selling them if there were people interested. He did say that he was okay with that as long as they could be removed in a timely manner. I guess I still need to get some clarification about what a timely manner means, but given the fact that we have received phone calls and there's interest, before we proceeded any further, I would just like to have your blessing as a Board of Education to put those buildings up for auction online, and then with parameters that they're removed within the timely manner that the city would need them to be removed. So that's what that agenda item is all about.
Jason, quick question. Assuming that we would sell the buildings, where would the proceeds from the funds go towards? Would it go towards the offset of the contract with the city on the street improvements, or would it go directly to the building fund?
It would go directly, well, it'd go back into our general fund or building fund, which
Okay.
I chose to put it into.
I can't even comprehend that we may not have portable buildings. I mean, we've talked about that for the entire time I've been on the board, so it will be nice to not have portable buildings.
Any other questions for Jason? All right, seeing none, can I have your votes, please? And motion passes. All right, next up, approval of superintendent's evaluation. Do I have a motion, please?
I move that the Board of Education of District 15 approve the superintendent's evaluation.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Eric. Really nothing else to add aside from what I just spoke in the discussion portion, unless anybody else has any other further comments.
I think it was a very fair assessment.
Good, thank you, Eric.
And I appreciate the input from the board on the evaluation. That helps me, and look forward to, to the chance to build some goals around those in the future and continue to work towards making Beatrice Public Schools the best we can.
And we will make sure that once the goals are established, we will share them obviously with the board, so full disclosure and transparency along those lines. All right, can I have your votes, please? And motion passes. All right, next up, administrator's report. We will start with unified bowling and special education update. Beth.
Don't have a lot on unified bowling because we just started. We had our second meet today. Last Monday, we had our first meet in Lincoln, and we got 10 out of 36 teams maybe. So it was a good start, pretty much all brand new team. And then today we were in Omaha, and it was a smaller meet. We got fourth. We could have probably got third, but we had a really bad middle game that we're gonna just move on from and hope to not see again. And then we have, our next meet is Wednesday in Lincoln again. So it's pretty exciting to see all the kids participating in sports they may not have the opportunity to otherwise. Okay, and then I gave you a handout. This is just gonna be a quick summary of special education information as far as numbers, breakdown in disability categories and where the majority of our students are, or where they break out in the buildings. So the first page, you'll see two graphs. These are verified students attending BPS on the top, and that I did an October 1 count from 2017 through this school year. And you can see the trend line is pretty much flat. We'd like to see it go down, hoping with our solid MTSS, once we get that in place district-wide, we're hoping to see that decrease, but good news is it's not rising. Then if you look at the second graph, this is our verified students attending parochial schools, and you can see the trend line is rising. The last 2 years, we've verified quite a few more students in the parochial schools at either St. Joe's or St. Paul's. So that has increased our overall special ed numbers a bit. I will also say the majority, probably, I would say over 90% of those, 90% of these numbers at the parochial schools are speech services. So, which does have the highest graduation rate, I guess, discontinuation area. Okay, then if you go to the, do you guys have any questions on that? Okay, you go to the next page with the pie graphs. The top graph basically lists, the verification and area that a student could be verified in, and this is their primary disability. We do have some students who have dual verification, but I just took their primary verification. As you can see, the green piece of the pie, that's our specific learning disability, and that's very typical across the state, probably across the country, to be the biggest verified area. And then SLI, which is speech language impairment, ties with OHI for the second. We do have 3 verification areas that we don't have any students verified in. That's traumatic brain injury, orthopedic impairment, and deafblind. So the other areas, they're abbreviated. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the abbreviations. I'm more than happy to share that with you.
Yeah, you might not have to share it tonight, but I am interested, rather than looking it up, to know what they are.
I can just send a follow-up email with all those. Is that what you want? Okay, I can do that. Then the second pie chart is just the breakdown of verified students by building. And you can see the bulk of our students between the elementary and the preschool. That's about 50% of our verified students in that building. And then the high school with the you can see almost 5% of our verified students are attending. They're not necessarily attending Beatrice Public Schools, but they are attending St. Joe or St. Paul. Okay, any questions on this? Okay, and then the last graph that I shared with you on the last page, this is just basically after every IEP meeting, our office sends out a survey to parents because we want input and feedback. Did you feel like you had say in the matter? Did we meet at a mutually agreed upon time? Do you feel like the staff know your student? Do you feel like you were heard? Those kinds of things. And so this is the parent survey information from first quarter. We typically get, I would say 160 to 180 responses a year. So for first quarter, I think it was 36 responses for first quarter. But what we're looking for is 5s and 4s, because that means that they agree that we did meet when it was convenient for them, that they did feel like their opinion mattered, that we did listen to them, that our staff do know their child. They were comfortable asking questions. So, and then basically what I do is I take this and I break it out by building, and then I share it with the sped staff and the administrators in that building in case there's also comments. They have, a lot of times the parents will add comments to this. I didn't include that in here. Or if they want to follow up, then I follow up with them to see what concerns or issues they might have. But so I share it out with the building staff, and that way, if there's areas that we need to work on, then we can make efforts to improve in those areas. So that's all I have.
Beth.
Thank you, Beth.
Next up, Superintendent Report. Mr. Alexander.
So just a couple of quick things. Just want to emphasize a sincere congratulations again to our state softball state championship team. Congratulations to all of our fall activities that did a terrific job this year in representing Beatrice in a great way. I would also like to emphasize a sincere congratulations to Mrs. Jill Rice, who was named top 12 counselor in the state of Nebraska. That's quite an honor for her and for our district, so appreciate that. And then just an echo of appreciation and thank you to Member Book for his service as a Marine, and also his service tonight helping us honor our veterans. That was so important, and we had two outstanding programs today, one at the middle school and one at the high school, that are just top-notch, top-quality performances and recognition of our service veterans. So terrific program by our students, our administrators, our staff today. Just appreciate all of that, and happy Veterans Day to all our vets that are out there listening and or here with us tonight. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? All right, notification of next meeting. The next regular meeting of the Board of Education will be December 9th, 2024 at 7 p.m. in the Administration Building. The Committee of the Whole meeting will be on November 26th, 2024 at 6 p.m. in the Administration Building. An agenda for the meeting, which shall be kept continually current, is readily available for public inspection at the Superintendent's office during normal business hours. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I move that the Board of Education of District 15 adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
And your votes? We are adjourned.